Welcome to the show, folks. I'm your host, Joshua Christos, and this is the current conversation. You guys are in the right place at the right time. Today's show is going to be an awesome show. We got a couple of great guests that's going to be joining us today. Today's topic is, we just had our presidential debates last week, and last night we had our vice presidential debates, and we kind of wanted to touch on that subject a little bit. So today's topic is the great debate. I'm right. No, you're right. And that's what we want to talk about today is knowing your rights, knowing about civil liberties. We're going to have a constitutional law attorney come and join us today. And he's very experienced in helping folks, less fortunate. He actually does a lot of tribal law, but exercising, constitutional knowledge and law there. And we're going to have a returning guest, Lynn Taylor. She was on here once before, and she shares a lot of good data information about our school systems and our children's and knowing our rights and kind of the consequences of what's going on if we ignore those rights. And should be a great discussion. So I encourage you to text a friend and tell somebody to join in and watch the show. And just once again, a reminder, we want to remind everybody to become a member supporter of the show. Go to www.patreon.com/the current conversation and become a member supporter of the show. It's going to allow us to keep doing the show, obviously. But allowing us to do more than just the show. We have plans to do more things beyond this and reach more folks. So we want to encourage everybody out there to take a second and go over to www.patreon.com/the current conversation. It's real easy to do. Go over there and just become a member. Some folks are supporting at $5. Some folks are supporting at $50. It's all up to whatever you feel like you are capable of doing. But we definitely appreciate it. So thank you for that. You can share that link out to other friends and family as well. But let's go ahead and get into the show today. And again, we got some good stuff lined up for you. So don't go away. We'll be right back. And tell a friend that the current conversation is about to begin. All right, folks, thanks for joining me again. Today's topic is know your rights. No, I'm right. Know your rights. And we're going to be talking a little bit about your rights and constitutional law, civil liberties, these type of things, and just kind of knowing, if you got any questions, which I'm sure they'll develop over time as we go through the conversation, make sure you ask those in the chat or feel free to join the conversation. You can check over here in the chat. There's a link. Click that link. You can get right into the conversation as it says on your screen right there. Join the conversation with your smartphone, tablet, or PC. So you can ask your question live, and we may have some special guests joining us later on. But yeah, we'd like to just thank you guys all for watching. I'm going to bring my first guest in without any delay. And again, she's no stranger to the show. She was here a couple weeks ago, and she discussed some great information about education. Let's bring her back to the show. Welcome to the show, Miss Lynn Taylor. Thank you for joining me.
Oh, thank you, Joshua. It's lovely to be with you. And I love the title of the show tonight. I think that's right on.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we just had our debates yesterday, and it was a great little conversation. And I enjoyed watching them talk, and I even enjoyed last week with the two presidents. But I think a lot of folks, it's a lot going on in the country right now. And some of us know a lot about it. Some of us know a little bit about it. Some of us don't care anything about it. And hopefully all those groups can come together today and we can leave here a little more informed, but more so a little more on the same page, right? A little more unified.
Right, absolutely. Well, one thing I'd like to point out as far as knowing your rights is, mainstream media has done a fabulous job, and I mean that very sarcastically, because they've only trotted out two of the presidential candidates when we have over, I believe it is 1,000 presidential candidates, and some of them are very constitutionally minded. What we're seeing now, as far as knowing your rights, know you're right, I'm right, is that there's this almost militant attitude that I'm seeing, Joshua, in all ages, especially among young people who are still in schools, be it, K through 12 or higher education, of, it's right versus left, blue versus blue, when no, our Constitution did not set up a two-party system. So, this is one of the things I think that's a great disservice to America, is that, when you have the debates, have them, but make sure they're true debates, not dog and pony shows like what, we saw happen with some of the ones that have already taken place, not only in this particular political season, but in ones in recent history.
Yeah, I want to bring my next guest in. I'm sure he has a lot to say about that too. He's definitely well, I'll let him say it for himself. So he's a constitutional lawyer, and he's very vast in that field. And let's bring him in now, Sakima Bey. Sakima, are you there with us?
Yes, sir. Joshua and is Linda?
Lynn.
Okay. Yes, I'm here.
Welcome to the show. I don't know if you just caught her.
Yeah, I did.
Feedback. I did. Yeah. And I'm sure you have something that you wanted to add to that.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. The Constitution makes no provisions for the two-party system, but this is what has come about. The other thing, too, dealing with education, the Constitution makes no provisions for national education.
Absolutely.
Nor does it make provisions for national health care. So right. National education and national health care is illegal. But
we lost him.
Oh, no, but he's right. He is absolutely spot on. And I'm so glad he's been able to verify that, because I've had so many people tell me, Joshua, through the years of my research and speaking out, that, I have no clue what I'm talking about. And I'm like, look, you show me where in the Constitution it says that there should be national control of half of the things that we have. And it's not there.
We need to have a standard national education and a standard in healthcare, but the government should not be involved. That makes it illegal and unconstitutional. Now, what I suggest, go ahead.
So the question is, so last night they were talking about that and how they were trying to push that agenda. How does that fit into? That's basically going to be breaking the Constitution. You have to rewrite it or change it some way for that to be effective, right?
Right. They have to have a constitutional amendment, which is not going to happen because
Right.
a lot of Republican-led states are not going to agree to that. What they need to do while Trump is in office is push private health.
Oh.
Well, well, he's driving, so that may happen, folks. I do apologize
Right.
about that. But yeah, Lynn, go ahead. You can take it away.
Okay. I was just going to say, as far as the education platform, since we've only had the mainstream media focus on the two candidates, Republican and Democrat. If you look at their education platforms, both from the Trump side and the Biden side, they are pretty much the same thing. And the reason I say that is because I wrote an article earlier this year on my blog, and that's commoncorediva.com. And I gave you the stances and how mirror image they were or still are. Now, as far as these other candidates who are running for president, you've got one who's from the Constitutional Party. He very much wants to get rid of the federal control over education. His name is Don Blankenship, I believe. So you've got, candidates like that who the people really need to hear from, and we're being kept from them.
I'm gonna try to give him a chance to come in. I know
Okay.
he's probably, yep. We keep losing you, brother. Did you catch that last little bit? She's talking about Don Blankenship. Can you hear us? So why do you think, Lynn, why do you think that is, that, those people are being, hidden or whatever? Why are they getting
why do I think
cover
they
up?
are? Because I think that the footwork, the framework that's gone into making America march more towards socialism and fascism have been in place for so long, Joshua, that you only can make this happen through the Democrats or the Republicans. You couldn't make it happen through a constitutionalist or a libertarian or somebody in those other parties, like an independent person. You have to, the narrative that, okay, first of all, let me back up. The United Nations has long since determined that education is supposed to be number one change agent to change everything about America, including our political landscape and voting and things like that. And so we're seeing this now play out all these years later. And this is why it's so dangerous to have that two-party system, is because they've become so unified in agenda that is un-American, that it's going to take an absolute miracle to save this nation.
Okay, so Kim, so what do you think about the two-party system? Oh, he dropped out. Goodness. I think that's right. But I mean, so what do we do? Is it a three-party? Is it a four?
Well, here's the thing. I think we should remember, first of all, that we're Christians. We're God's children. That needs to be our first thing. Then we need to remember we're Americans, and there's certainly enough room for all kinds of political views. And it's supposed to be we, the people. We really are the government. It's not those people that we elect. It's us, because remember, the power of the people is what's supposed to drive the legislation.
Yeah.
And it's not, because you've got corporate America and corporate globalism, Joshua, who have come in and pretty much bought everything in DC, and they're the ones who have the special interest groups that go before Congress and say, oh yeah, we're going to, give you this piece of legislation. We just need you to put your name on it. And so that's what's been happening. And this is not a new thing. This has been going on for several administrations, including our current one.
Yeah.
So when people say, oh, just wait, if Biden gets elected, here's how bad America's going to be. No, it's already there. It's already happening under this current administration, under the one that was just before it. You can go back years to see that you don't need to wait in the future for it to get bad. It's already bad enough.
Yeah. So Kim, you actually, you said something similar to me was last week about that. I'll let you go ahead and tap in on that.
What was the last thing she said? Because I broke out. I dropped
What
out.
you were talking about how, well, the thing I came to mind was when we did the interview and we were talking about how, Biden coming in could change things, but a lot of things that could change is kind of already it's already in our system now. It's already in our government and in America. Yeah.
The communist, fascist, Marxists have infiltrated the political structures, the Hollywood, and the media. It's this artificial human being with three heads: Hollywood, media, and academia, and it's controlled by the Democrat leadership. And this is what's putting a spell on the people. Because one of the things is that if this politician says that, media goes and runs over to this politician. Well, nobody's ever meeting face to face. He said this.
He's absolutely right. They play both ends against we the people. They absolutely do.
Yeah. So
he said, so nobody's ever meeting face to face to discuss or to debate the issue face to face. It's always a third part. This is how the spell keeps moving, keeps weaving, keeps covering up the minds and the consciousness of the people who believe what the media, Hollywood, and the Democrats say. So that's a problem. And in order for example, the government, the Marxists and the fascists who've infiltrated, Trump is the only thing that's going to be able to save. And I'm not a Republican. I'm not a Democrat, but Trump is the guy to put or to clean up or to stop, who has stopped their whole agenda. And this is what they're pissed off about.
No, I don't agree. I don't agree at all, because if you look at some of the things that he has done while he's been in office, he has helped further some of the globalist agenda way much more than Obama did, or the previous administrations before that. And the reason I say that is because if you go in and you look at his executive orders, if you go in and look at the bills that he signed from both sides of the aisle that are propping up this Marxist fascist stuff, he's signing it. He should veto it. He should absolutely.
Who signed? You talking about now? You talking about Trump signing it now?
I'm talking about before the first debate, any of the activity that he's done. If you look at the fact of the matter that he is signing executive orders that he has no business signing, he's got legislation that's coming to his desk from both the Democrats and the Republicans, and instead of it being constitutional, he's signing it, and it's not constitutional. So he should veto any of that, and he's not done it at all. So
what should he have vetoed? Well, what should he have vetoed?
Okay, well, let's see. He should have vetoed the USMCA Act, agreement bill that went into place, because that is one of the things that helped set up a global governance over America as opposed to a constitutionally led one. He should have vetoed.
Talk about for the pipeline.
No, the USMCA, which is the U.S.-Mexico Canada agreement. Yes. He should have vetoed.
Why?
First of all, he should have never signed it, but he went and signed the legislation. Because if you read the agreement, it sets up international committees over every aspect of America and Americans' lives, and puts it in the hands of international committees, therefore usurping the entire, not only Constitution, but our Declaration of Independence and all the other things that are our founding documents.
I think that one didn't get signed.
Actually, it did, yes.
Because
See, this is all good stuff, and this is what
I've gotten, they took that out.
No, it's there. It absolutely is. I can't remember how many. I think it's over 600 pages, that agreement is, and Trump signed it along with the president of Mexico. Canada's president signed it as well, and then Congress came in with legislation that was because it's an agreement, and an agreement is not a law.
It's a business contract. It's a business contract.
Binding. But what Congress did was they came in and made legislation based off of special interest groups for the USMCA to put it into motion. And that's what was signed into law. He should have vetoed that one. But no, what did he do? He said it's going to be better than the NAFTA. It's going to be better than, anything since sliced bread.
Yeah.
And no, it's not. It absolutely is not. And part of the thing, and the reason I researched this was through education. And what it's doing is it's going to use education at a national and international level to slot where you live and what you do. And that's un-American.
I think this topic is a great topic. This is not something that's getting in the news. We're getting the news is the stimulus and what people are, they're kind of curtailing you to have a certain limited perspective and limited things to care about. And so a lot of things can just go behind, and you're so busy saying, hey, when can I get this extra money? Because everybody wants more money. Most people.
See, that's unconstitutional as well. Mm-hmm. That should never have been signed either, because you
don't.
Go ahead, Sakima.
Yeah.
When he comes back.
Okay. All right. I just wanted to point out some common things. I mean,
folks need to know these things. Like, I don't know anything about what you're talking about, the bill thing, but that's something that's important because it affects me, and it affects my children, it affects my neighbors.
Exactly.
And so, that we need to know these things, and I think
absolutely we do.
That.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Sakima.
The MCA deal. I'm going to make a call tomorrow, and get and find out, because I still have, I do have a connection that's real close to the president.
Okay.
So I'm going to check on that.
And I'll be happy, if you'd like me to, I will be happy to, I can pass to Joshua, and he can, or you can get in touch with me. I have all my research on it from the education standpoint, because of course it's going to lump in education with the Department of Labor, which is also unconstitutional. I've done interviews on it, so I've got the documentation and all the research. I'll be happy to pass that on.
Yeah, that'd be good, because
okay.
And that'd be good. I welcome that.
Okay, so awesome.
We're gonna take a really quick break, and when we come back, we're gonna talk more about what can we do as a nation, as a people, to try to put more things in place, or to kind of stop the things that are happening, the sneaky behind the back handshakes and things like that. What do we have in our power? It's not all the power is not taken from us. We haven't released all of it. So we're gonna talk more about what can we do as a people and as a nation.
Okay.
I want to remind everybody to make sure you guys visit over to www.patreon.com/the current conversation, become a supporter of the channel. Make sure you also go over to YouTube, subscribe, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, Instagram, all those key social media pages. We're going to be right back. We're going to take a quick break, and just make sure you text somebody while we're on this break and tell them, hey, this is a great conversation happening right now. It's going down on the current conversation. You're in the right place. Stay tuned.
All right.
Welcome back, folks. Thanks for joining me here on the current conversation. And my guest today, we are discussing the great debate. There's a lot of parties that say, I'm right. No, I'm right. Well, you need to know your rights. And that's kind of what we're bringing to the table today. But make sure that you guys get a chance to join us. Make sure you check it out. You can click the link in the chat over here on the side, and you can join right now on your smartphone, tablet, or PC if you want to ask questions to my guest today. And if you just want to bring in your own feedback, or you just want to say, "Oh, phooey, this is all crap," that's fine too. You can come in, say what you want to say. This is an open forum. We want to hear from you. We want to hear your thoughts and feedback. So be open to share, or you can submit your questions or feedback in the chat if you like. Yeah, so we're going to jump back in from where we left off at after the break, or before the break. And we were talking about a lot of things that might be happening in our government that a lot of folks aren't aware of. But we want to educate people on what they can do and some of the rights that they have they may not know that they have. And I'm going to start with Sakima. Sakima, he's a constitutional law attorney. He works a lot with tribal people. He does tribal law, helps folks get, back what was stolen from them mostly. It's a lot of things that got stolen from them trying to get back. But go ahead, Sakima. Let you fill in real quickly.
Well, Trump has said us. One thing that Obama did, he did set aside some money, about $750 billion for American Indians, etc. Trump has did somewhat the same thing, and then he issued an executive order. He said, well, Trump did actually. He set aside some land, and he also issued an executive order that crimes against federal, state, and tribal officials is to be outlawed or stopped, whatever you just deal with. But mainly back to like what Lynn said.
And that's what she said. Yeah, he dropped out again. He's trying to get somewhere, and if he gets there, it's going to be a good treat. But we'll see if he gets there.
Right, and I'm so glad he's on tonight. I really am,
we'll
because it's wonderful. Made another constitutional law.
Should I go ahead?
Four of those.
Go ahead, Sakima. Go ahead.
Yeah, because constitutionally, executive orders technically they're not the procedure is not constitutional when it's enacting a law. If an executive order is written and it's enacting a law, then that's pretty much illegal, because Congress is the one that's only supposed to be able to make laws. So when Trump and Obama and all these other people were doing that, that's unconstitutional. Right. But the government has gotten so corrupt. I mean, it's both sides. It's gotten so corrupt that they won't do certain things that they're supposed to do or they should do. Right. Like for example, this Planned Parenthood thing. The government shouldn't be funding that.
He thought he was getting ready to go somewhere too. He dropped right out, but he'll come right back in. But that sounds like a great point. Yeah, right. Government funding.
Right, and we shouldn't be funding the United Nations either. And we are funding so much. We're funding so much of that, and we're allowing so much of that back into our schools. I mean, I've done research on it and found that one of the first states that allowed the United Nations to come in and infiltrate their curriculum was Minnesota back in the 80s. And ever since then, it has permeated not only just public schools, but it's in private schools. You can find it in home schools, higher education. You can find it in your communities. And now with the Sustainable Development Goals, which Trump is in full support of, which is totally, not American either. This is one of the things. See, I'm not anti-Trump. I'm not pro-Biden. I am an independent voter. So this is why I know as much as I do about what both sides have done, because I've been objective about it instead of trying to subject people to, I mean, that's what the mainstream media does. They subject us to what they want us to know.
Right, exactly.
And this is not what I do. This is not what I was called to do. For example, you were asking about what we can do. One of the things we can do is, first of all, we need to choose to protect our families. We need to choose to protect liberty. We need to choose to stop being part of the it's right versus left, blue versus red argument, because that's getting us nowhere.
Yeah. Well, it's a distraction tactic. It's like magic. You say, look here, while all the things behind the scenes are getting played out. Like you said, they become so unified in their vision that that's why folks now say, if I vote for this one, I vote for this one, I'm still voting for the same thing. So, Kima, let me ask you this question. Is the ship sunk, though? Is it too late? Can we restore America?
The only way we're going to be able to restore America is a lot of things is going to have to change. A lot of things are going to have to change. We might have to have a civil war. we literally might have to have a civil war because it's too many.
Oh,
Too many. Oh, I'd love to hear what the
yeah,
next
too many. Yeah, he needs to switch to Sprint or something. I don't know.
Oh my goodness. Well, you're talking about they've become so unified in agenda. As far as education goes, here's what I found from both the mainstream candidates that we're being told these are your only
hold that thought, Lynn. I
choices.
do want to hear. He said there's so many. Go ahead, Kimmy. What's the so many?
Oh, okay. Yes.
Yeah, there's too many corrupt webs spread all throughout the country, all throughout the government. A lot of people need to go to jail. And I mean, a lot of people need to go to jail. Apparently, it appears Trump is trying to do something. He has some of the things he is doing that I don't agree with, but mainly if we can start with this fake coup, with this Russia thing, start getting the Clinton.
We'll get more than 10 seconds out of him at some point.
Okay, sure. Now, I was going to try to give some examples of how unified the right versus the left have become on education. And this is from both Biden's campaign and Trump's. Increase education and job alignment for the future national economy.
And I mean a massive.
Yeah.
What I think should happen, well, we don't know, because the issue is who's going to be the person to do this house cleaning,
It should be we the people. It really should. I mean,
you're
right. A lot of people need to go to jail, but we've got to bring the charges. We've got to hold their feet to the fire. And so far, we've been so comfortable,
right? So
that we've not done it.
Now, this is my suggestion. Organizations, these constitutional organizations, we're going to have to, we the people.
Yeah, I like to know that too. Like, what is it that can be done? I think that folks don't know what they can be done. They only can go with what they've been educated to do. All they've been educated to do is vote, but there's got to be more than you could do besides vote. Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
See, the people need to revolt. There should be no business going on. As it should be from California to New York, from Ohio down to Florida. People should just revolt. Don't go to work. Don't do any business. And in their states, they go march onto the governors, and then some cases into, because this stuff has gotten so corrupt that nothing is going to work. And the media is pushing it. The media is pushing it. Academia is pushing it, and Hollywood.
Yes, absolutely.
If that's the main goal. If the people were able to go get those three entities and snatch them up, snatch all three of them up to the point.
Yeah.
And he I don't know if he knows he's jumping in and out.
Yeah, that's okay. But Joshua, I would also add, start local. Don't start at the state level. Start in your town. Look at what your town is involved in. Look at the budget. What are they aligning to? Because I'm going to tell you, in my town, we're a mid-sized town here in North Carolina. We've got the sustainable development goals woven into our city budget because it's the way that things have begun. So it's not just at state level. We have to start at local level. And if your mayor is violating the state constitution as well as the U.S. Constitution, bring up charges.
Yeah, that's ideal. But now you got a lot of. I do a lot of traveling, and a lot of cities are not they don't have the political desire. They don't have the political. Memphis, that's one place. Virginia, Richmond, Charlotte, where I used to live, Columbia. And I talk to the people there. The people are so fragmented.
Yeah.
It's hard. This thing is
right. And he's right. It is an ideal, and we need a little bit more practical. But I do like what he said, because I've been saying the same thing, is that we need some sort of citizen revolt. We really do.
Yeah.
That's a great plan to start locally, and you take over your state. and you get back control of your state. I think it's Utah is one of those states that the citizenry at the local level has their control of their state. And
I thought that was South
but they
Dakota because
but these
I know
people
the
in Utah,
governor.
they have their desire to be involved politically. They desire to do that. The majority,
Right,
the rest of these other places that I'm at or go to, there's no desire. You have pockets.
right,
You have pockets. So
right.
what I see about with Trump, with all his narcissism and his personality, grandizement, and all these other things, he spins a positive thing. Like they say, oh, he lied about he knew about COVID. That's no different than me telling I find out that I got cancer. I got my children. They're 12, 14. I don't tell them that I can possibly.
Yeah, I see where he was going with that.
Yeah.
I think that
Yeah,
yeah, it
you
depends on
smooth the,
how mature you think your children are, though. Like if I think my kids are mature enough, if I've maybe talked to them at a younger age and let them know like
right.
this thing happens and I feel they're
This can
comfortable,
happen.
I wouldn't want them to come in one day be shocked that daddy's dead. Like I want them to
Right.
know
You
like
don't shock. Right. You
Right.
don't shock them, but you tell them in a positive way. You
Yeah.
tell
yeah,
them in a way that's not going to affect their emotions at the stage of age that they're at. If they're an
Right.
adult, you can come out and tell them. That's different. Well, this is what he did with that. I don't see he did he behind in the phone call and he said, yeah, it's this, it's that, but he doesn't want to cause a panic because we know us on this video, this interview, that the majority of people have the mentality of
Yes. Yes, they do. Absolutely. They
well,
do.
but that's their fault, right? That is the government's fault. That's the media's fault because they've tried to dumb down the generations so that we
yeah,
become impotent, right? And
Oh, they
there's nothing we
haven't
could do.
tried. They have succeeded. That's the
Yeah.
sad part. They have
yeah,
absolutely succeeded. One of the things that we're seeing that is playing into this almost panic and dumbing down, if you will, is that when I said we become too comfortable, it's the right and the left are telling us, well, if you give, if we give you more federal money, you're going to have more freedom. No, absolutely
no,
not. The more subsidized that
yeah,
something or someone becomes, the more government controlled they are.
right,
Yeah.
exactly, and
That's business. If
that's
I
where
put
we
money
are,
in your pocket, I want to have some say. Yeah.
right. So
Right.
what
Yeah.
need we
I'll give him a second. I know he drops he has
I
I mean,
know.
yeah,
yeah, go ahead.
where the country is right now, it's getting ready to take place that you need to have your gun and be ready to defend your individual. Like that couple, where was it in uh, um, Minnesota?
I think it's
The husband,
Missouri.
Missouri, that
Yeah.
defended their. That is a precursor of what they're going to try to do to all of the people who try to defend their property. Which those two people, that white man, that white lady, they had the absolute constitutional right or privilege and immunity to
Mm,
defend their property. They didn't shoot
right.
anybody. They didn't point the gun at anybody. So I don't see. This is the thing: the attorneys in America are full of shit, especially the black ones. They're the ones, all the black people that's getting killed. What they need to do, these so like Crump and all these, going for the last 3 years of all the so-called black people who've been abused by a police officer, they need to sign a petition and file a class action lawsuit. And they need to do that all over the country. That will force the police departments. They're getting sued and going to and have to basically fire their police force to stop it, get some type of reduce some training, some ethnic training on how to deal with certain people. Well, why is these white officers?
I mean, that's a good topic. What do you think about that? Like, that was a hot topic for the debate yesterday. The police and law and order seems to be I mean that's even more central because we're talking about changing over of the guard, I guess with the Supreme Court. We're talking about, how we're handling the police and policing our cities and our states. these things are kind of like in a flux, and that's not a coincidence, right? I think that there is some kind of a shift, and like you guys are talking about, it's about a shift that the people can say, let me weigh in on this too, instead of leaving it to somebody else to kind of weigh that thing out, and then you just be impacted without voicing your opinion.
Right. Well, I can
Yeah.
give you an example here in the town I live. See, I'm about 30 miles north of Charlotte, and I can tell you from personal experience that we've got some wonderful law enforcement, and we have some who are corrupt. And one of the things that I was tagged on social media today was here is a sheriff's department out in New Mexico, and they are abusing their power given to them to preserve and to protect. And how they're abusing the power is they are using a public private partnership group
I got a
to
question.
go to people's homes and make sure that the parents are getting those kids online in the virtual classrooms. And that's not the police's business, that's not the school's business, that is the family business. That is where we have so much of government down to law enforcement who are overreaching in our communities. And the reason that we have that, Joshua and Sakima, is because in the Every Student Succeeds Act, it mandated whole community alignment so that children could somehow be more academically gifted and more successful so they could contribute to the global economy. That is not what our police force needs to be doing. That is not what our businesses should be involved in. But this
That's
is what we're
crazy.
finding.
Yeah. Where can people go to get this type of information that you're pulling up? Like what type of resources and tools are you using that they
Oh,
can
I
do
have
on their
all
own
this.
when they're just, instead
Yes.
of watching Netflix, they can go do
Right.
this?
Well, I have all this on my blog. It's www.commoncorediva.com. You can also go and find me on Facebook. You can find me on Twitter, Parler, MeWe, localactivist.org, which that would be a great organization for us to, you might want to reach out to them, Joshua, at some time and have them on. Patrick Wood with Citizens for Free Speech. He's an awesome man, and he could tell you so much more about all this than I can. But you can find me on usa.life as well. So, yeah, that's where you can find all my research. And I have all the things so that people can read for themselves. I'm not going to tell you what to think, I'm going to show you where to look.
Yeah, that's the key, and making sure that they can find those
Mm,
tools on their own, because
right,
we all have our own perspective, and it's only when we can see the same angle and direction that we can come into an agreement. And so folks need to kind of be discovering that on their own,
right,
versus you I can describe to you what a sunset looks like, but if you never take a look at the sunset, it's not going to be the same. You got to look at it for yourself, you got to see it, let it impact you. So
right.
reading it, like you're saying, and studying that, if they're interested, again folks, if you're interested in learning more about what she's speaking about, you can go to www.commoncorediva.com, and she
Now,
has their all. Go ahead.
does does Sakima have a website that people could go to? Because I would love to be able to get in touch with him. I have so enjoyed this
He
conversation.
does. He actually, I'll let him talk about that. But he's actually the head of a foundation. They do a lot of um, supportive legal stuff for people who are struggling with things. It's called the Moore Foundation, and
Is that
that's what he does. A lot of his
Moore?
traveling with, going around helping folks in different communities, but mostly tribal stuff too. Like he's really kind
Okay,
of big on that. But I'll let him share more about that if he jumps back in.
sure.
He was supposed to be meeting a special guest, and I don't want to say anything because if the guy doesn't show up, then it just doesn't matter. But that's kind of why he's driving. That's why he's trying to get somewhere,
Okay,
and he's going to bring the guy on the show. And it'd be cool to have the guy on, but we'll see if that happens.
okay.
Um, but going back to what we're talking about, so it sounds to me like a lot of Americans have taken a back seat. We got this TV that came into our living rooms back in the 50s, and it
Mm-hmm.
took over. And
Yes,
now basically, you come home, and it was, when I was younger, it was get off of work, come home, turn the TV on, and then you veg out and go to sleep. And now
right.
it's, let me turn the TV on, but I'm also going to be on my phone. I'm also going to be doing all these other things.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a bunch of things that keep you busy and to feel like you're doing something when really nothing has been accomplished. If you weighed that time out and put it on a scale, as far as productivity, there's no productivity really there.
Right, right.
And so it's just
Absolutely.
a time waster, right? When we could be reading, we could be researching. And but what happens too is we lean on that as a way of getting information. Our cell phones, the television,
Mm-hmm.
we think this is a data point. It's really not a data point. It's really a piece of entertainment. Your phone is entertainment. Social media is entertainment. It has the same properties on your brain and serotonin levels when you get a like and these things. It's the same thing. It's entertainment. It's engaging like a video game or whatever else. And we have to be mindful of that. But we let it creep into our world like it's a just a generic part of it, like eating or sleeping or something. And it's not an integral part of our day. But when we introduce it and let it have that space, then it takes a place of also a role of authority because it commands that time. When it has that time, it controls that time. So now it has a point of authority, and that authority now tells us, we believe what we see for the most part. And if we're only seeing these things, this is why it's so easy for media, entertainment, rather if it's news, which is still entertainment. NBC is owned by a news company. All these big companies, they're news companies that own those entertainment production companies, Universal, whatever you want to call it, because it's all just entertainment. It's all to keep you entertained, right?
And
But
that's
behind the
what's so
scenes, we're missing the
concerning.
real truth.
Right. And that's what's so concerning about, oh, yeah, let's, do nothing but virtual school now and have your kids sit at a computer 7 and 8 hours a day. Have you seen some of the pictures of how these children are miserable because they can't go out and play, or they think they can't go out and play,
Yeah.
but things have shifted so much to where you're just totally plugged in 24/7, and it's not good for their brain development. It's not good for their physical health. It's not good for their mental health. It's a train wreck.
I absolutely agree. I have little children, and I take them outside. I mean, we just go outside, and we have a community playground. It's a small playground, and there's been no kids on that for months.
Oh,
And I thought to myself, I said, you know what? I mean, the virus only lasts maybe a couple of weeks. I mean, it would be safe for my kids to go there. I mean, I'm not taking them, but it's like, or if it's such a small place, like why couldn't you go and take a wet wipe and wipe it down or whatever and let your kid get
right.
on the side of me? Like, I don't know. I'm just thinking about how we won't take those extra steps to try to make our kids still have a life that's like a childhood. It's like the fear is so gripping. It's like, and I was thinking about that. Like, how I would love to drive by and just see like a single family playing, and that nobody's been on there for months. Somebody just
But
enjoying that.
that's one of those right, left, red versus blue paradigms through all this.
Yeah.
Is let's instill so much fear that we literally are mentally crippling millions of people.
I mean, I see it. Uh, really quickly, we're gonna take a quick break to give Sakima a chance to kind of get settled. Maybe I think he's reached his destination, but we'll see. And I want to encourage everybody, share your thoughts and comments on this. And you could do so in the chat, but you can also do so by joining the conversation. If you check in the chat, you'll see that there's a link that you guys can join with your smartphone, tablet, or PC. I also want to encourage folks to become a member supporter of the show. Help us keep it going. Help us keep going and expanding to new areas and doing new things. We have a lot of plans. Just to give a kind of something away, we want to do some things remotely, and being able to do that, there's a challenge to that. There is planning and cost, and there's going to require more folks than just the team we have right now. So, supporting our show gives us the opportunity to take it to new places. I personally get to go to places. I'm in DC right now. I get to go into Congress meetings. I get to go into governor conventions and things like that because of what I do for media wise. And being able to sit down with my show and do something while I'm there would be great. But it would take me to have team and staff and folks to do those things. And I want to bring those things to you and let you be able to sit down and talk with somebody like that. And if our guest comes on today, to have a chance to talk with that type of a guest, it's going to be pretty cool. So become a member supporter of the show. Help us keep going and going more places. www.patreon.com/the current conversation. And we're going to be right back after this quick break. Thank you all for watching us. And stay tuned. All right, welcome back, folks. We had to take a quick little break, but thanks for staying with us. Before the break, we were kind of talking a little bit about, the topic today is, the great debate, right? I'm right. No, I'm right. No, you're right. It's important that you know your rights. We're going to hit a little bit more on that on our last segment of the show. just kind of want to bring it more home to let folks know, like, you have rights that you might not be exercising. We know we have a right to bear arms and a freedom of speech, but we only exercise them if somebody says, "Give me your gun" or "Shut up." But there's rights that we need to exercise where there's not something being taken away. It's an exercise, just as I have the right to get in my car and drive away. Nobody's taking that from me, but I exercise that every day, the ability to do that thing. And we need to exercise abilities to be present. Just recently, I did an interview in DC streets, and we were interviewing folks on the streets to understand what the climate of the people. And one of the ladies, she said, "I'm here because they're voting who's going to be the next person to be on the Supreme Court seat for a lifetime." And she had an opinion about that, and she wanted to be able to go in there and say, "Here's what I think as a citizen of this country. Here's my input." And people can do that. And your local state government does that. You have council meetings and things you can actually attend. If you've never attended a council meeting in your life, I want you to set that as a New Year's resolution to sit in to some sort of government meeting, because these are the things that are taking, instead of complaining about how your life is being taken from you and these things, they don't have the power to take it from you. And if they do, it's
Only
because you
if you
gave it to
let
them.
them
Every
take it.
bit of
Yeah.
power that they have, you gave to them because you
Right.
voted, because you said, "I agree with this. I agree. I agree to submit to these laws, rules, and obligations." Like, you have to do. You have to agree in some form or fashion. So if you're going to agree, know what you're agreeing with. Know who you're agreeing with. Take part in the meetings. Heck, we used to have public access that would show things, and I don't know what happened to that now that kind of internet is taking over. But I'm sure that C-SPAN and things are still pushing those things. And I know it sounds boring, so I'm not saying watch it 24 hours a day, but tap in instead of tapping out, so you can say, "I understand why that is, and I understand I can write a letter and I could do these things," and it really does make a difference. Lynn, I'm gonna
And
let you
I'd
go ahead
like,
and jump in and kind of add some feedback to that.
yeah, I would like to add that, we're not always going to agree on everything, but we
Right.
need to not be hostile about it when we disagree. Okay. There's a way we can talk about these topics. And okay, I'm not going to agree with everything that you believe. I'm not going to, you're not going to agree with everything I believe, but we should be able to maturely talk about it. And I think that is being totally swept away, especially in the mood of social justice, if you will.
So, I know one of your key areas is, the education system, but it sounds like you kind of know a little bit more beyond that. But I think the key is that we need to shape our children, our future, because
Hmm.
a lot of us are pre-programmed. Just, it's habit. This is how we grew up. This is how things were.
Right.
So we need some trailblazers, some rock breakers that says, "I'm going to break up the foundation and change what it is by teaching my children something." It's amazing. I have a son he's 18, and as much as he was involved in learning about the candidates and all these things, when I was that age, it wasn't a focus for me. I was hanging out with my friends. I didn't really care, even though I now had the right to vote. Uh, we were going with what everybody else said. We followed the group. We weren't really studying it up.
Right.
But I think
Right.
children nowadays are paying attention, more attention. I want my younger children to pay attention. If we can change that climate, then we can maybe really make some impact, in the
Right.
future. Hopefully not with the Civil War. But what would you like to add to that?
I just think that take advantage of the time that you're in your home, whether it's by choice or by force. Know your Fourth Amendment, and when somebody comes and knocks on your door, if they don't have just cause, then you don't let them in. But we need to, while we're in our homes, take the time, put all that media down, have a family conversation. Do you understand what is going on in the political system? Is there a candidate that you like? Is there a candidate you don't? What are issues are important to you? What would you like to learn more about? I mean, these were the ways that I got to my kids was, what is it you really want to learn about? And then let's do it together.
No, I think that's great advice. And you know, for me, when I sit down with my kids, the little ones are still ABCs 1, 2, 3 and things like that. But as my children that were older, as we went through things, I wanted them to know early on that while we played games for 8, 9, 10 years of their life, it was all fun and games. At a certain point in time, they have to understand that life isn't a game, and to
Right.
start to see the realness of things. And usually, I don't know, but most of the time in a 10-year span, there's somebody, a grandma, grandpa, somebody that passes away, and that's kind of the first hit that, life is kind of real, and this is like that's a real life situation of a thing. And then maybe, school happens and you get the social interaction that kind of makes things tough. But as we go through with our children, and we see these landmarks, these milestones that they hit, where they start to see the veil coming back, where they see like this is real life and this is how hard things can be. I tried to introduce to them, the cause and effect of what this happens, this equals this, and letting them know through the household. A good example might be um, well, when they got old enough, I tried to get them like 10 years old. I tried to start making them focus on how to earn their own money. And so I took them
Right.
around like 8, 9, and 10 because they're so cute at that age, but they're able to kind of speak. And I would take them to the neighbor's house and they would knock on the door with a can of spray paint and little stencils and say, I'll put your address number on your trash cans.
Mm-hmm.
And they would say no. They come back and say, Daddy said no. I said, right. They're not going to always say yes. You can't always
That's
win.
right.
So
That's
different
right.
things like that. And I think that if we start just kind of letting our kids, and that's a great way. They had fun and they learned something cool, but and
Mhm.
they all remember those experiences. But it's a cool way to kind of let them know the realities of the world. I think if we take the time out to do that with our children and with how the government works, but even just society, we try to teach our kids social stuff by teaching them like how to play with their friends, but we're not really teaching them like how to. We say share the toy, but not really how to share. Trying to think of a way to say it, but how to kind of share, like, I don't want to say your life, but your existence. Like, how do you fully share with somebody where you're considerate of them, not just like, oh, are you going to play with this or you can play with it, but I mean, considerate that you're thinking about what's going to happen 10 minutes, 5 minutes, an hour down the line because of the action that you took. And at
Yeah,
11 and 12, I try to
compassion.
get my children to think that way. And
Yeah.
now they had their plans for life at 16, 17. They know I'm gonna go here, do this, I'm gonna graduate, do this. Like they had a plan, a roadmap, because we started learning roadmaps at 8, 9, and 10, the consequences of your actions, what that plays out.
Right. And what we're seeing happen, and this is one thing that could be an action step for this topic that you have tonight, is that we
Yeah.
need to teach people over party. Just because grandma and grandpa and your family has always voted one way doesn't mean that's what you have to do. Look at the candidates, look at their platforms, and if they don't line up, then don't go for it. Because God never told us go for the lesser of two evils. He said, no, do what's right. And if you want to find out that you have way more than two candidates, go to ballotpedia.com and you can find the over 1,500 presidential candidates. And like I said, you're going to find constitutional parties, you're going to find libertarian parties, you're going to find socialist parties, you're going to find communist parties, green parties, and all kinds of things. But this is what we're being denied as far as access to.
I think that's a resource that most people don't know. And we know somebody, she was a guest on my show a couple of times, Miss Dr. Ruth Bryant White. She
Oh,
ran for
yes.
president some
Mhm.
years ago and was one of, if not the first Black woman to do so, African American woman, let me say that. And sorry about that. I just seen an ad pop up. I mean, a comment. She says, "My two grown adults don't care." We got to teach the children so when they do become adults, they do care. But yeah, it's definitely key that we definitely want to pour into our children to know about the future and to know what their rights are. That's why we're having a show like this. Even some of the older folks that don't really know what their rights are, they've just kind of been going with the grain for so long. I don't know that it's an educational thing. I think it's more of a it's what you have at stake. What do you have invested from my
Right,
perspective? And what I mean by that
right.
is this. So I know people who have accumulated a lot of wealth and they have a lot of property, they have a lot of things going on. They're in stocks, they're in this thing. And so they pay attention to the government and what's happening because they know that it directly affects their business and their livelihood. It's on their mind every day. And even me, I do stock trading and things, and I'm looking to know what's happening with the markets because are you going to make me lose money? Am I gaining money? I'm kind of like kind of through with Trump right now. Him getting sick, the stock market goes down. He comes out, it goes back up. But then by the evening, he says, "Oh, I'm canceling the stimulus. The stock market drop. Quit playing with my money, Trump." But anyways, but I pay attention to those things because it has a direct correlation. But I think that folks who aren't invested in that situation, as that, like the folks that maybe just kind of get up, go to work, come home, go to sleep. Life is just that pattern, and they don't see how there's a direct correlation by what happens in the government to what's happening for them today. They just want to know,
Right.
can I go to work tomorrow? And these are the folks that you see protesting because they're on furlough work because the airports are shut down and they don't
Yeah.
have they're not keeping them on, and they're like, what am I going to do? And even if you give me furlough and you pay me for 6 months, then what happens after 6 months? And then you read, that's American. This is a true thing. We did an interview last week with American Airlines, people who are striking for that. And then this week, I see Delta saying they're going to grow and expand beyond this and this and that. And so they're trying to push their stock. And, we're watching to see, should we buy that? And so, because I'm invested. But anyways, the folks that aren't, they're the ones that's protesting because their life is the day to day copy, paste, repeat, wash, rinse, repeat, whatever you want to call it. And it doesn't exempt you just because you're not the person who has wealth that you can lose it because they changed the tax law, or you're trying to look at when Trump first came into office and he did all these things that give you benefits to roll your money into real estate and then kind of hide that and shelter it. This is why the guy paid $750 for taxes. Listen, I think that sucks that he didn't contribute to society like he should, but I think he's a genius that he figured out a way to legally do so. Nobody said he did anything illegally. He legally found a way to say, I'm keeping what I've earned. So we don't have that type of education. So we're being, the average Joe is being raped 20, 35% of their income. And it's gone before they even have a chance to look at it and say, well, all we know is I got two dependents, and that's what they claim, but they don't know, like, well, did you get it? Did you move to get a new job? That's a deduction. Did you, little things like that. We're not pressing because we don't see the direct correlation in our day to day.
Right.
Would you
Well,
like to comment on
I
that?
would
Yeah.
urge folks to get involved in government, like it was brought up, go to those local council meetings, go to the local school board
Yeah.
meetings, watch your government, because here's what's happening, Joshua, is that people have not watched it for so long that these corrupt officials think, well, they're not paying attention, so we can do whatever it is we want. And that's pretty much what they've gotten away with. So it's time for us to use our citizen power to say, not anymore. We're not going to take this anymore.
I think too, just really quickly before we wrap up, I think that our society, like we talked about earlier, media is how we interact with our government.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really just us watching. It's a one-way conversation. They're telling us, this is what we're going to do, this is what we're going to do. And then you hear media say, this is what they did, this is what they did, or what they didn't do, or how badly they are, and whatever. And we're just watching it like it's a TV show, which then turns the whole Congress and all these things into, like, again, it's entertainment, but then sort of celebrity, where that's a whole nother fantasy world that we don't really live in. They have their thing and whatever, but it's really your world. It's really your life. The government, the president, and this and that, you see him on TV every day, but that's a real person. He's Donald Trump. That's not a fictitious name. That's not,
Right.
Lance Starling, and he's the star of the newest Western or whatever you're going to call it. Like, this guy's really doing what he's doing. He's doing this stuff every day in office. And for a lot of Americans, again, it's just entertainment for them. They just see the interaction through the TV. So I want to encourage those Americans that are just watching on television, make a trip to DC.
Mm-hmm.
It might be, it might be a bit of a drive, and maybe even more challenging now that there's COVID. But man, plan a summer vacation to go to DC.
And if
Or
you
write
can't
your
get
congressman, write your
Yeah.
state senator, your state representative, write them and say, hey, I want my voice to be heard. I live in your district. This is just to say you're doing a great job. But I want
Right.
you to do that because in the act of doing that, it's going to empower you to make the connection with them outside of television. You're going to know you
Now-
send a letter to a real person, and a real person is going to respond to you, because if they're still going to send your, they're going to send you a response, even if it's a secretary. They're going to say, thank you for writing your congressman, your thoughts, and this and that, blah, blah, blah. But that's going to solidify there's a real connection there. Start making efforts to make that connection, because these people are supposed to be your advocate. They're supposed to be your avatar and standing in your place to speak your voice and say your words. And if you remain silent, then they can speak their own words because they're sitting there with nothing else to say but what they come up with. Put the
Or
words in
they'll-
their mouth, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
they'll
Read
speak
my
with
lips.
they'll
Yeah,
speak
go
the
ahead.
special interest group voice too.
Right. Somebody comes along
But
with
if
money.
you don't know your representatives, let's say you don't know your representatives or what
Yeah.
district you're in or any of that kind of thing.
Yeah.
If you go to congress.gov, you can look not only at the legislation that is being proposed, but you can search for your representative, your senator. You can find out which district they represent. It's a wonderful tool that's out there. And that's what I use to find all the legislation that I research, because it's the bill in PDF form. So I'm not getting media filtered legislation. I'm getting the real deal right away.
Yeah, yeah. So, folks, that's it. www.congress.gov. Check that out. Check out commoncorediva.com for more information and getting some of the research that's already been put together, handpicked, and a lot of hard work that Lynn Taylor has put into it. So go check that out and see for yourself what we've discussed today. We got to get ready to wrap this show up. I want to thank all my guests who came in today, Lynn and Sakima, and all you folks that are watching, the people who made comments. Thank you for making the comments. Thank you guys for watching and sharing the show. And I want to remind you guys all again to go to our YouTube, hit subscribe, make sure you click that bell so you can be notified when we come on. And follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, Current Conversation. And you can find us on Instagram as well. So stay connected with us. We got a lot more things coming down the pipeline. And if you like the show, great. If you hated it, send comments. You can watch it again even after now. This is live, but it's going to be available to re-air, so you can still post comments. We do check those comments even after the live feed to see what later folks have said and to know kind of, what people think about the show. So give us the feedback. We definitely appreciate it. And before we go, I want to remind folks once again to become a member supporter of the show. Go to www.patreon.com/the current conversation and support the show. We'll be here again next Thursday at the same bat time, same bat channel. Thank you all for watching, Lynn. Thank you so much.
And let Sakima know I really want to get in touch with him, especially about this USMCA information.
Sure.
Okay.
I absolutely will.
Thank
you again.
Okay.
Thank you all for watching. And until next week, keep the conversation going. If you follow us on any of our social medias, or you can actually join it. We have a group on Facebook you can join in where we kind of discuss some of the topics we're talking about for the week. So if you want to get in or still have more to say about this topic, feel free to join us there. Facebook.com/the current conversation. Thank you all for watching. We'll see you next week, next Thursday at 8 o'clock.